One of the hardest times to do what's necessary is when we need it the most. Kevin Clayson's here again today to help us learn how to be grateful when we're depressed. Anytime I have a topic that's related to gratitude, I always think of my friend, Kevin Clayson.
Thanks, Dr.
Kevin,
Paul.
thanks for being here. Kevin is the author of Flip the Gratitude Switch. And he showed up for another episode where we talked about gratitude. You can link to it right up there and see what that conversation was all about. He was also on my podcast, Live on Purpose Radio. You can link to that down there in the description and get more of this.
And if you want more of Dr. Paul, it's real simple. You just buy the book, and there's this really magical testimonial on the back from this guy.
Well, I love what you're doing,
Thank you.
Kevin, and it makes a huge difference. Like we talked about in that other video, gratitude is so important to our joy, which affects every aspect of life. You think about how your work would change, how your marriage or your parenting responsibilities or whatever it is would change if you had a higher level of joy and gratitude in your life. Changes the game.
Well, you know what?
Huge.
There's a quote that I love from somebody that I greatly respect, and his name's David Bednar. And he used this term one time, and he talked about where a lot of us live. It's where I lived for a lot of years and where a lot of people do. And it's here's the quote. He says, "Many of us live in what's called the poverty of endless discontentment."
Ooh.
And if you think about that, poverty indicates a tremendous lack, right? We're in this
Right.
poverty.
Scarcity.
We feel like we don't have the ability, the resources, the strength to move forward or to move on. And
Right.
it's a poverty of endless discontentment where nothing's good enough, no one's good enough, the job's never good enough, the money's never enough, the car we drive isn't good enough, our spouse doesn't listen, our kids don't listen, we don't have the ability to create a new life, move where we want to move, or whatever the case may be.
Man, I'm feeling suffocated right now.
And the thing is, we all sort of labor with these thoughts that there may be lack or not enough. But here is what I've ultimately been able to discover, because I was in that place.
You were there.
I was completely there. I came to realize that the active power of gratitude, especially in the middle of life's frustrations, can free you from that bondage of endless discontentment. No longer do you live in the poverty of it. Instead, you experience this sort of new, joyful way of being. And gratitude, that simple word and the simple idea, does something remarkable to move us from a place of feeling like we don't have enough, feeling even depressed,
Right.
into a space of understanding there is something to look forward to and to live for.
Okay, so Kevin, I'm a psychologist.
Yeah.
For a couple of decades now, I've been working with clients who are experiencing depression.
Sure.
And I kind of know what you're going to say about this.
Yeah.
That's why I want to ask you. Depression is one of those conditions where we are robbed of our joy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of factors that go into that. We're not going to dig into every one of those factors.
Sure.
But I have found that gratitude is a really crucial way to break out of that depressive prison where we get stuck
Yeah.
and to create a life that we can love. But there's a dilemma. Because when we're in that depressed state of mind, we don't naturally think about gratitude.
That's right.
In fact, we're kind of focused on that thing that you were talking about earlier, that scarcity. There's
Yeah.
never enough, and focusing on what we don't have or what we don't like.
Right.
And that fuels the depression. So we know that gratitude helps depression. How do you achieve a state of gratitude while you're depressed?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because it's literally the entire reason I wrote that book.
Yeah.
Because I got to a point in my life where on paper, I had a job, I had a wife, I had kids, I was traveling for work. Literally,
great.
On paper, everything should be great. I couldn't experience the joy that I was looking for. And it all came to a head this one day. I drove to my office. I was sitting in my car looking down at the stairs that I had to walk down in order to go and sort of sludge through another day of work.
Right.
Feeling unfulfilled, underpaid, overworked, underappreciated, all the things we always feel. And I sat there in my car and I looked down and I just had the thought, I just don't want to. And I realized that thought was extending past me going to the office. I didn't want to have any of the things that I had in my life. And I kind of got to this point where I knew I had one of two choices to make. I was either going to escape from it all, whatever that looked like, whether it was drive to another state and forget it all or take a more drastic approach. I had to escape or change. That was it. Those were the only options I had. For me, it felt like this rock bottom. And at that moment, I had this word whispered to my brain. I believe it was from God, because I believe in God. And the word that I didn't expect that came was the word gratitude. And initially, I remember going, what? How could I possibly have gratitude for this mess of a life that I've got?
Right.
I couldn't figure it out. And it took me going to a journal that I'd written in when I heard this wonderful speaker talk about gratitude. And I remembered that he talked about it. And I opened that journal. And what did he say in there? He said, keep a gratitude journal. But not just that. He said, pick a frustration and keep a gratitude journal about that for 21 days. And it was the first time in my life that I had actually had the thought that I could be thankful in the middle of frustration, in the middle of discontent, in the middle of feeling like I didn't have enough, that there was something, some kernel of something in there that I could be thankful for. And that thought led me on a journey. And the journey consisted of me reading books about gratitude and figuring out how to become more thankful. And let me tell you, I couldn't find the right book for me that told me how to be thankful when I was depressed, when I felt like I did, in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And so as I went through this process, I started to write it down. And I ultimately created this little 4-step formula that I call Flip the Gratitude Switch, which is how you take tiny little moments of frustration in the middle of depression and do something, this conscious process where you can change a moment that can shift the trajectory of your life.
This tool is powerful. Is that something you could share with us here today?
I would love to.
I thought you might.
So
Flip, right?
It's actually an acronym, right?
Yes.
And so the crazy thing was I started to go through some stuff where I was trying to find a way to be thankful in my frustrations. And then I just knew that I felt different. The reason I called it Flip the Gratitude Switch, we talk about this on the other video, is I felt like I was walking, kind of stumbling around my dark life. And when I would find gratitude for frustration, it was like I flipped this internal switch and everything became illuminated. It became easier to navigate.
Shined a light on the whole thing.
And so I actually, here, pick up the book real quick. I had these light switch covers made. We sell them now. But I had these light switch covers made and I put them up around me as this reminder.
An actual light switch cover in your house.
Switch cover in my house as a reminder that with a simple act, I could shift my perspective. Now, here's what this flip formula does. If you've ever been to a 3D movie, you ever been to a 3D movie?
Yeah.
Have you ever taken your glasses off during the 3D movie?
I have. Doesn't look right.
No, it doesn't. In fact, if you were to watch an entire 3D movie with the glasses off, here's the crazy thing. You'd know the storyline. You'd know who the main character was. You'd know what happened. The love scenes would be in the same spot. The music would be the same. The action sequences would be
the same film.
Same exact film. But your perspective and therefore experience of it shifts drastically when you put these glasses on, right? Yeah. So this 4-step formula, what it does is it puts a set of gratitude glasses on that allows you to view the life you have differently. And then here's the cool thing. Over time, when you practice this formula, those glasses turn into LASIK. It's like it becomes this constant new way to view the world around you because it rewires your brain.
You've rewired the equipment.
And so it's like LASIK. It's like LASIK for the soul. And so here's the 4-step formula. It starts with F, right? F is you find the frustration. So flip the gratitude switch. FLIP is the formula. You find the frustration.
Find the frustration. That's not going to be hard.
No, that's pretty easy to do, right? I mean,
just look for the pain.
Man. So you find something that frustrates you. It could be something little. Okay. A guy cuts you off on the freeway. You stub your toe on the bed. You hit your head as you're getting into your car. You go to your favorite restaurant and they're out of your favorite meal. It could be that the kids didn't make their bed, that they don't brush their teeth when you ask them to. It could be that your spouse didn't do the dishes when you wanted them to. It could be a whole...
Anything. Stuff happens.
Stuff happens. And here's the key. I want you to practice this with the seemingly insignificant frustrations that crop up throughout the day, because those seemingly insignificant frustrations, they will compound and make you think that you're in this poverty of endless discontentment. If you can figure this out with the little stuff and begin to rewire your brain, the big stuff will come. Okay? So what you do is you find that frustration the moment it happens, and you say, okay, here's the question you ask. Why am I frustrated? And I know that seems super simple and intuitive, but you probably know not a lot of us actually take time to ask ourselves questions.
Well, that
right?
brings it to your awareness.
Yeah.
So now I can do something with it. Otherwise, like you were saying, we go on autopilot.
Yeah.
We're going to go with whatever we've been trained, taught, and educated to think already, whatever we've already practiced.
Yep.
And it may not be productive. So that's stopping the pattern.
Yep.
It interrupts it long enough for you to say, hey, why am I frustrated? Then you're in a place that I call metacognition, where you're thinking about your thinking.
See, he's smarter than I don't know that word, so he's just way smarter.
Hey, we make up words in psychology. It makes us feel smart. That's one of them.
That's good. I like it.
So thinking about your thinking creates a space. In that space is where choice exists.
That space is where choice exists. I think
Right.
Viktor Frankl says something very similar
Yes.
to that. I mean, who knows better than a concentration camp survivor, right? Yeah. So you create that space, metacognition, and you actually ask yourself that question, why am I frustrated? And it creates this space that allows you to do something different.
Right.
From there, you immediately move to L.
Okay.
L is where you look for what's awesome. When you look for what's awesome, you make a mental list of everything that's awesome embedded in the frustration. So an example would be one time I was heading to the airport and I went to McDonald's and I got a Diet Coke. And as the person was handing me the Diet Coke, the lid fell off and it spilled all over my pants. And I was about to board a flight to New York, right? Oh. And so, not real comfortable, by the way, to that whole action.
Right.
And so it spills on me and immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, how did they hand me that cup? Couldn't they see it was warped? And I went, whoa, I'm frustrated. Why am I frustrated? I'm frustrated because it spilled Coke. A Diet Coke on my pants, and then I went, what could possibly be awesome about it? And as I look down at my pants, I'm thinking, why am I bugged right now? I'm bugged because I'm headed to the airport. Why am I going to the airport? I'm going to the airport because somebody paid for me to board a plane to New York, where I always had wanted to go and speak to an audience.
Which you love to do.
Which I love to do. Mm-hmm. I was literally in a car that I could afford because of what I did for work. And part of what I did for work is had people pay me to fly places and speak and do what I love. And all of a sudden what it did is it shifted the moment of, oh my gosh, I have Coke on my pants. How am I going to deal with this through the flight? To, holy cow.
Look at my awesome life.
I'm literally doing what I wanted to do since I was a kid. Oh my goodness. When you look for what's awesome embedded in the frustration, you feel a shift internally. And then you move to I. Okay. I is where you initiate, and a lot of times when I go speak to high schools and middle schools, I tell them to install gratitude, because we all have iPhones or smartphones, right?
Right.
And if you think about the App Store, right, something that you want, it could be nebulous, it's not tangible. You go and you search it, and then you hit a little button, and then it comes down from outer space, and then you have a billion levels of Candy Crush, right? And it installs on your phone. Right. It takes something that isn't tangible and it makes it tangible. And so my question is always, what is the App Store of our life? Where do we go and search for things that we want to make real? And the answer is it's language. Words have energy, and words have this way to open up this portal and gate to power. And so you actually use language. And you do this. Okay, I'm frustrated. Why am I frustrated? Oh, I spilled Coke. I don't like that. Okay, what could be awesome? I spilled Coke because I'm in my car on the way to the airport. I have this awesome job. I love what I do. And now you use language. And you actually use these. It may seem cheesy, but I'll tell you something. It shifts. You say, I am so thankful for, and then you list everything that was awesome embedded in that frustration. And here's what happens.
Wow.
If you go through and you say, oh, I'm so thankful for this job I have. I'm so thankful that I have this car. I'm thankful I get to fly to New York. I'm thankful I get to talk to these people. When you use that language, all of a sudden, that joy and fulfillment that just a second ago was lacking starts to flood into your person. I do this with my kids all the time. When my kids are sort of bugged at each other, we make them, or bugged at something we did, we make them list stuff they're thankful for. And at first, it's always like, I'm thankful for my brother, right? Like they don't want to do it, but then we make them keep going. And what happens? I remember this one time, I was talking to my daughter. She was so bugged at her brother, and I had her walk through this, and she started like this. And every time she said she was thankful for something about him, her face started to shift. And by the end of the exercise, she was smiling, thinking about how funny he was and how cool it was to have this brother, and her entire disposition changed with the repetition of this language, making this non-tangible, which she wanted happiness and joy. She didn't have it right then. It became real and tangible for her. And what happens is you find the frustration, you look for what's awesome, you initiate or install gratitude by using language and expressing gratitude for the thing that was awesome embedded in the frustration. And what happens is you immediately move to the fourth step, which is P, which is what I call power up with gratifuel, because I think gratitude fuels life.
Okay, power up with gratifuel.
Because what happens is your body releases these chemicals, your brain shifts, you start to feel different, and you feel this new energy, and it powers you forward. And I say the reason it's power up with gratifuel is it kind of lifts you, you power up, you power forward, and then here's the thing. That fuel carries you right until the next tiny, seemingly insignificant frustration.
Because it's going to happen.
It's going to happen, and then you just wash, rinse, repeat. Find the frustration, look for what's awesome, initiate or install gratitude, power up with gratifuel, let it move you forward. And what that does is now these tiny little frustrations in a moment, you can shift them and shift the trajectory of that moment, which can shift the trajectory of your day. You change enough days, you change weeks, enough weeks, they turn into months, months turn into years, years turns into lifetimes. You can shift. That's why on the book, the subtitle is A Simple Formula to Change the Trajectory of Your Life. Because that, my friends, that is what gratitude has the ability to do for you.
Even when, and maybe especially when, you're depressed.
Absolutely.
Or frustrated or stuck.
That's right.
In that prison place. Wow. We're liberating some people today at Live on Purpose TV.
Well, and I just want,
thank you.
If you're out there and you are feeling depressed, first of all, just know that, I get it. I know Dr. Paul gets it.
Yeah.
And I know there's people around you right now that love you, that get it. And so while it can feel difficult, while it can feel overwhelming, I will promise you, because I was you and in that place, I will promise you, if you will take one seemingly insignificant frustration and you'll go through this process. Just try it.
Yeah.
And listen, if you don't have the means to get a book, put my email on this video. I will email you a copy of the audio or the physical book or whatever you want. If it can help you, if you're in a place where you need something, there are resources for you, and I'm happy to play a small part in that.
Thank you, Kevin.
You bet.
And thank you for being here. Share this with someone. I think one of the things I enjoy the most about doing these videos is just having a chance to interact with you. Thank you for your comments and for subscribing.